Indeed, this has been a weird case from the start. A case with a hole in the center. A donut.
What?
Donut. A donut. A donut hole in the donut's hole. You know.
Ew.
Not
Sounds
like
dirty when you say it like that.
Play the music. I can't believe I really just went. I can't believe you caught me on that.
Yep.
I can't. All right. Well, that quote failed completely. Let's just move on to the star of the show, shall we?
Moving on.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, all you wonderful people out there? Welcome back to the General Geekery Podcast. Of course, this is the podcast where we geek out about all that we love to geek out about with no remorse, no regrets, and with all
the enthusiasm
in the world.
Indeed.
She's taken my thunder.
I know. I'm trying to join the thunder.
She is the light.
It's always like with the workers, and it's just me. I was like, indeed.
She is the lightning to my thunder. Fair enough.
Thunder.
Oh wait, this isn't a Thundercats episode. Never mind.
No.
Anywho, as always, we are your hosts. I am Donald Kaczynski, your resident coffee ninja by day, actor, gamer, and streamer by night. And joining me as always, she is the dice slinger extraordinaire, artiste magnificent, and former Undertaker by day. She is Hannah Kubiak.
Hello.
And as much as I botched the damn quote because, oh man, how does Daniel Craig do that accent? How does he do it?
We'll fix it in post.
No, it's leaving it at. I'm leaving that as is. But
I think the key is just to relax.
Yeah, I think you're right. But anyway, today we are going to be talking about a movie that honestly has captured my imagination and my attention. Rian Johnson's Knives Out.
It really was surprising, wasn't it? Get your butt off my computer.
Yeah, so Kefka's trying to invade Hannah's setup. Kefka's trying to be the star of the show now.
Yeah.
So
you're just annoyed because you're wearing a cone. For his own good.
Indeed. So, for those that do not know about this particular film, Knives Out was released in 2019. I want to say, September to November 2019. It is a murder mystery story that was directed by Rian Johnson and stars a very huge ensemble cast. We've got Daniel Craig, who is James Bond, Chris Evans, who is more commonly known as Captain America from the MCU, Jamie Lee Curtis, who is probably one of the most famous scream queens from the 80s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
We have others like Don Johnson, Christopher
Plummer.
Plummer, yep, that's it. And a bunch of other people that create a very strong cast. And honestly, oddly enough, Frank Oz, one of the main creators of The Muppets, is in this.
What? Wait, who is he?
He was the lawyer.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah, kind of weird for Yoda to just show up randomly. But yeah.
Say nothing you must.
We'll say nothing you must.
Until to your lawyer you speak.
So, as you guys could have told from past episodes of the General Geekery Podcast, Me and Hannah are no stranger to murder mystery stories.
I thought you were just going to stop at murder. We are no strangers to murder.
Well, either or, but I mean, I personally love murder mysteries. Of course, I have followed. I've read detective stories like the original Sherlock Holmes books. The Agatha Christie murder novels are always a fun read through.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I mean, they're always just a lot of fun. But they also follow a lot of tropes.
Yeah, yeah. You can always kind of rule certain people out because it's just too obvious, but we'll get to that.
Indeed.
Yes.
So, I guess the first question is, like, before going into this film, we need to talk about what makes up a good murder mystery. At least in our opinions.
In our opinions?
Yeah.
Good murder mystery. I would say that that silence was way too long. Your stunned silence is very reassuring. Yeah. Let me percolate.
Yep. Of course. The question of always who done it is like one of the big things involved in murder mysteries. The who done it and the why done it are usually the two big questions to ask. There's basically the murderer and the motive. And we see in several different crime fictions of people discovering bit by bit like how a murder was committed and for what reason. And one of the things as that's always great, especially in literature, is you putting all the clues together in your head as you're reading along with the information.
Yeah.
But as one who if you read enough murder mysteries, you can always pinpoint, like, there's always like certain tropes that are involved in murder mysteries that always rear its ugly head at times.
There's always some sort of really, like, a really evocative setting.
Mm-hmm.
Like in this one, it's this family estate.
Yep,
with all this weird art around.
It literally looks like something out of. It literally looks like the manor that would probably be like the setting for the board game Clue.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, no joke. You have all these different characters with wide-ranging personalities. There's the one person who looks like it obviously is the culprit, and sometimes there is a subversion, which we call that a red herring. Sometimes it's not. But oddly enough, Rian Johnson, in the directing of this film, takes like the usual tropes that we come to expect from murder mysteries, and not only subverts them, but subverts them in a way that is hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
Which is kind of incredible.
Yeah, I think if we want to talk about how this movie subverted some of those tropes, we should maybe talk about what some of the tropes are.
First and foremost, we should probably go right ahead and say, for those of you that have not seen the movie Knives Out, this is going to be a spoiler-heavy episode. So
you can't really do a podcast episode about a murder mystery and not.
Yeah. So sorry about the plane flying overhead. For those of you that have not seen Knives Out yet, pause this episode, go watch the film, come back here. We'll meet you right back here in about 2.5 hours of you watching it. Just pause where you are. We'll reconvene after that. Hi. Now that you're back from watching Knives Out, let's talk about this movie. So, first and foremost, we begin with our murder victim.
Yeah, and to make it even more meta, the murder victim in this movie is a murder mystery novelist himself. He's famous for writing murder mysteries.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's a funny bit where it's kind of near the beginning of the movie, so it's not really giving away anything. But there's this moment where they like him and this other person think that he's going to die.
Yep.
Which he does. But anyway, they think he's going to die. And he's like, oh my goodness, this would be a great way to murder someone. I got to write this down. How long do I have to live? Just asking,
Yeah, it's just like, God damn it. So,
yeah.
So
one of those people, like one of those creative people who just can't respond to things normally because they think of it from the perspective of a storyteller.
Right.
Like when things happen, I don't know if you've ever done this, but when things happen to you and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the worst. This is the pits. But it'll make a great story.
Yeah, exactly. Like you either write it down for yourself or you put it in your mind palace and make a mental note of it. I'm pretty sure all artistic minds have had that happen to them at least once or twice in their life, maybe multiple times during a day.
Yeah.
But anyway, our murder victim is Harlan Thrombey, who, as Hannah said, was a wealthy mystery novelist who was having his birthday, and he's found dead the next morning by his, I believe his maid?
Housekeeper. Yeah.
Housekeeper, thank you. Finds him in the morning dead with his throat slit. And so everyone in the family who was present for his birthday, his son, Walt, his daughter, his eldest daughter, who was played by Jamie Lee Curtis, Linda, his daughter-in-law Joni, who was the widow of his second son, who passed away prior to all of this, and Linda's husband, Richard, who everybody is hiding secrets. And as we find out through the interviews, which is done by the police and a private investigator that was hired in order to investigate this murder, Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig, pulling off the most hilarious Southern accent I have ever heard in film. It can be a
little much at times, but
it is said by one person as a foghorn leghorn drawl, and I have to say, it's so campy that it works.
Yeah.
I can't describe how magical it is. It's like, oh my god, it's just so weird. It's like if you put Christopher Walken into a randomly serious film and he brings such a weirdness and levity to it that it just like, holy shit.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it, actually.
That's the only way I can describe it.
Just like the dialect was really funny. It kind of reminded me of the True Grit made by the Coen brothers.
Yes.
The way that everyone talks in that, where they they say every single word, like instead of saying I don't know, it's I do not know.
Exactly. It's like over enunciation for the sake of it, and it's brilliant.
Yep.
But as they're interviewing each of like the main members of the family, who is mainly the children and the in-laws, we find out through them that each of them is harboring like a secret related to Harlan, which is a motive for murder. His daughter,
he was making his rounds that night, basically like getting lots of his problems with his kids taken care of all in one fell swoop. Like it's always when everybody has something that they would rather not people know that happened that night. Like he's like, yeah, everybody had something that he had dealt with, like a motive, basically. Like that's one of the things. One of these tropes is that multiple people have to have motives, which in order to do that, a perfectly quote unquote normal family with no issues, a murder mystery wouldn't happen to that kind of family. It's always the families that are really really dysfunctional and weird that makes a good murder mystery, because when multiple people have motives and multiple people have all of these alibis and like secrets that they don't want to be unearthed as a side effect of the investigation of a crime that's completely unconnected.
Right.
Like the classic this guy is lying to the police because he was having an affair. He's not a murderer. He just had an affair, but he'd rather nobody knew. So he's acting sus. You know?
Exactly. It's a classic murder mystery trope that they will keep the things to themselves because they don't want their secret to be identified and just recorded by the police. I mean, I'm also watching, like, at the time of, like, recording this, I'm also watching through BBC's Broadchurch for the first time, and that carries a lot of different tropes of, like, murder mystery stuff, like, to a dramatized extent, and you get the hints of that here as well. So Harlan's youngest son, Walt, is in charge of the publication company that publicizes Harlan's books, and he's been trying to get Harlan's permission and blessing to take these stories and turn them into television series, like Netflix shows, things like that. But Harlan would not allow that, and he felt that, like, he held Walt back, and so he let him go of the publication in order to go find his true calling. And it seems like that is Walt's motive.
That he was basically fired and told, you can't have this cushy job that you just have because you're my son. You have to go and find your own.
So to that extent, yes. His daughter's husband, Richard, he had an affair with another woman that Harlan got wind of, and he was going to tell his daughter about everything.
Yeah.
And so the husband-in-law of the eldest daughter had that motive.
Just the husband of the eldest daughter.
Yep, the husband of the eldest.
The son-in-law.
The son-in-law of Harlan had that, and then you have the daughter-in-law, the widow Joni, who was basically cut out of the not cut out of the inheritance. She was cut out of an allowance that Harlan said that he would honor in order to support Joni and her daughter Meg through college. And by cutting off that allowance, it would prevent Joni's daughter Meg from attending school. And of course, Joni was, like, blowing the money anyway. So she was like, what was the phrase? Double dipping. Yes.
Like, she was getting money directly from him and then also from his accountant or something.
Pretty much, yeah. So she went behind his back, so she has, like, that motive in order to ensure that. Because it all came down to the family inheritance that would be split up, which would come into play later. So we have all these pieces on the board. But then in comes our main protagonist, Marta, who was Harlan's nurse. Now, she is in my opinion, Ana de Armas killed it in this film as Marta Cabrera. She is fantastic because, as we see during her questioning, two things pop up. One, she has a regurgitative reaction when she tells lies. It's something that makes her physically...
Regurgitative reaction to mistruthin'.
Thank you for quoting that.
You are very welcome.
And second of all, as we see through a flashback, in the context of her mind, she is technically the murderer.
Yeah,
We see early on in the first act what actually happened in the murder. And that it was an accidental overdose that was going to kill Harlan, but in order to because Harlan became such good friends with Marta, he laid out a plan so that Marta would cover up all traces of what happened. He committed suicide in order to make it go through that.
Yeah,
and
he knew that it was an accident, but he didn't want her to get into trouble.
Because she is a legal citizen, but her mother was not a legal United States citizen because they are immigrants. And I think another thing that I love as, like, a little bit of a context to show how little the majority of the family do not care is that they always get her ethnicity and point of origin wrong.
Every single one of them says she's from a different country.
What was it? like one was Cuba, Uruguay, Mexico,
Paraguay, yeah.
Puerto Rico, something like that.
Yeah.
Do we ever was it ever discussed where her origin actually was from?
I don't remember.
I need to go back through and focus on
Yeah,
that part specifically.
I wish I remembered. Yeah.
But that is actually a thing that is constantly like brought up, is like the class difference between like that family and Marta, which actually which is also
it's her and then all of these rich people.
Which in another way is also another trope that is brought up in like murder mysteries like that in this kind of scenario, is that like the servants or like the help is always another one that is brought upon as a suspect due to financial gain as well.
Yeah.
But because of this subversion that has happened, that this is entirely an accident, and now Marta is working backwards to basically cover up any instance of her involvement in this happening, and she literally sees her dear friend Harlan literally slit his throat in front of her eyes, killing himself.
Yeah, that's...
Like, I was like, oh my god, that is so dramatic!
I know, right? It's ridiculous.
and so... Benoit Blanc, aka Daniel Craig, takes Marta under his wing as he tries to solve the mystery of what happened. And so Marta is basically covering up her tracks literally underneath the detective's nose.
Right, yeah, because he rules her out pretty early on because for her...
Yeah, the regurgitative thing.
She can't lie, yeah.
Yeah, she can't lie. So she can only speak in like partial truths.
Right. Yeah.
Which is still hard for her.
Yeah.
And it becomes a game of cat and mouse at that point.
Yeah.
So instantly, like, this changed the dynamic of the film like that way for me. I'm like, wait, so this is a murder mystery, but we already know who the murderer is, and this is an entire accident. So
yeah, this
is literally just a game of cat and mouse at this point. I was completely confused when I first came across this.
Yeah. It doesn't. Yeah, that's another trope, is like the mystery. Like, okay, have you ever seen? Oh gosh, what is it? Columbo.
Only once.
Okay, it's about this detective who he's really sharp, but he comes off as being kind of bumbling. But I don't know if it's the same with every episode of this show, but the ones that I've seen were from the perspective of the killer, and it's more of it's not a whodunit so much as a will this guy figure it out kind of thing. And so I think that was kind of what it was like, because it would do it sometimes from the perspective of the killer and them trying to cover up what they had done and everything. So to me, in that sense, it was kind of like that, like an episode of Columbo. And also the fact that the detective played by Daniel Craig was kind of an oddball.
Yeah,
like he wasn't bumbling at all, but he was just strange.
Like everyone else in this is like playing it like so straight, like ain't like over the top straight, but in comes freaking Daniel Craig in a southern drawl as Benoit Blanc, coming in like a magical unicorn from some fairy tale place. It's just like it's just like your mind goes through that uncanny valley. It's like, this should not make sense, but I kind of love it.
Mm-hmm.
and so as Marta is covering up her tracks, we eventually come to the will reading scene about all of Harlan's like the Harlan Thrombey inheritance, how it was being divided, and then we're finally first introduced fully to the character of Ransom, played by Chris Evans, who is the eldest grandson of the family.
Right, yeah, he's Linda's son. Yes, Linda's son. Right.
So also, if somebody wants to explain to me how it is possible that Jamie Lee Curtis can have a son that will grow up to look like Chris Evans, I would be happy for someone to try to explain that to me, how genetics work. I've been trying to think that through my head. I'm like, huh, okay. I don't know. It's a weird thing with me when you get two recognized names like that, and you try to sell off one as a son to this other one. I'd be like, I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
America's ass finds a way.
God damn it. God damn it. That's fair. You know what? I will accept that. And so like the family gets into like a huge argument like before the inheritance even starts, just because like Ransom's being a gigantic asshole, which he doesn't even deny being, because the night prior apparently Harlan had a argument with Ransom that apparently he was out of the inheritance because him and Harlan and Ransom were very close.
Yeah.
So that
it was like a on again, off again kind of thing where, well, I mean, that maybe is a bad way to phrase it, but
I mean, it is true though.
It was like, yeah, they loved each other, they hated each other. They were always either best buds or they hated each other's guts, kind of thing.
Because Harlan saw so much. Because Harlan saw so much of himself in Ransom, so that was like a big thing. So it comes to the So we come to the will reading scene of who inherits the inheritance of Harlan, and the lawyer proceeding over it is goddamn Yoda himself, Frank Oz. It still mind boggles me. It still mind boggles me to this day. And apparently, in the inheritance, Harlan had left his fortune, his estate, and everything he owns to Marta, unbeknownst to Marta or anyone else in the family's knowledge.
Yeah.
So
except one person, but yeah.
We'll get to that when we get to that. So as the family is arguing as to like what is like arguing against like the legitimacy of it, and they were being so nice and like, oh, it's okay, Marta, we totally understand. They go back on it as like, you harlot. I'm just like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's suddenly, suddenly all holds barred.
Yeah, it became so much because it's like we're rooting for Marta because we know this isn't her fault, but then when the inheritance thing come up and she gets everything, it's like, oh no.
It seems like, it just makes it a whole lot worse because suddenly she now has a motive for this thing that she did totally by accident. And Benoit's like, go away, and all of a sudden she finds herself getting out with Ransom, and Ransom, through a sense of extortion because he knows Marta's condition, it made her eat an entire plate full of pork and beans, and said, you are going to tell me the truth. And so now Ransom is willing to help Marta out in order to get part of the inheritance because, in his words, fuck my family. Meanwhile, the Thrombies put out the news of Harlan's death and that Marta had gained the inheritance, and now Marta and her family are under a firestorm of media attention. And then Marta gets a note saying that someone knows. Oh yeah, that's another essential element. Like all of the sort of Agatha Christie mysteries that I've seen, most of them involve a blackmail of some sort where somebody has figured out who did it, but they don't come forward with it. They wanted, like, for their own personal gain instead, just try and blackmail them. Like, there's always something where somebody gets killed and then people are like, why did they get killed? That's so random. Because, like, they were just a maid, and then it turns out, oh, she knew something and she was blackmailing somebody. And when I would watch these, I'd always just think to myself, why are you being so stupid? Just like report what you saw. Stop trying to be clever. You're not going to get away with it. You're going to get killed.
Well, the thing is like this note comes with a copy of Harlan's toxicology report. That proof of that the person has like a copy of Harlan's toxicology report, and with the evidence because they could see what was in Harlan's bloodstream at the time of death, Marta would be incriminated.
Right.
So as they try to go to destroy the evidence of the toxicology report, they already find out that the records place holding the report had been burned due to arson that night.
Ugh.
So already there's all these different things turning, and it's just like, what is happening? And then the funniest chase scene happens. They reach a meeting. Ransom gets taken into custody because apparently they were suspecting him. That the police were suspecting him. Benoit rides back with Marta. Marta tries to keep the meeting deadline, and as she meets with apparently the person that sent the blackmail, she finds the housekeeper that found Harlan dead, completely drugged up and left to die.
Yeah.
So it's just like, what the hell? And she's saying that you did this. And so like instead of like leaving her to die, Marta actually did call like an ambulance and try to use her nurse training in order to save her, which eventually causes her to spill the truth to Benoit about everything that happened because she does not want this to go on. She is a good person. She's like, this has gone on long enough. I can't do this.
And that's something in any sort of crime story that is really interesting often is that most of the people involved are just terrible, selfish people.
Right.
But yeah, this character, I love it. Like, I think maybe it's just because I take care of old people myself. That's my job.
Completely understandable. Like we're just seeing all this. It's like she's basically fighting in order to like keep herself afloat, just to protect her family. But once the inheritance came in and all of this started happening, like she's like, I can't do this. This is enough. Yeah. So she's basically going to spill the beans to the entire family. They found
almost literally.
They find the toxicology report in Fran's possession in her room at the estate. But just as Marta's about to explain it, Benoit said, "Nope, this is not happening. Marta, you are coming with me. The rest of you family, fuck y'all. Y'all are wolves, knives out." I forget how that entire quote goes, but he goes full on detective in that moment. And so we come to what I describe as the Sherlock Holmes tells all part.
Yeah, the like, everyone gather in the drawing room. I will explain my process step by step, and we will discover the murderer and stuff. Yep.
And so so through his deductions and everything laid bare, we find out that Marta gave the correct amount of medication to Harlan that would not require an overdose. And nothing would have happened to Harlan.
Yeah.
Someone had apparently switched the labels on the bottles so that apparently she would have given like the overdose, but she actually chose the correct overdose, the correct dose from the correct bottle, even though it was a completely different label, just because like she knew the weight of the bottle, she knew the viscosity because she had been doing it for so long because she was a good nurse. Because
you are a good nurse, yeah.
And because Harlan and Marta assumed the worst case scenario, Harlan died for nothing. When you realize that, you're like, Jesus.
Ew, yeah, that's awful.
That took me a few minutes to like, I had to pause the movie to process it. I'm like, holy shit. But then, but it wasn't ended there. So who switched the bottles? Remember how we said earlier on in the episode that usually the most suspicious suspect...
You usually suspect somebody right away, but then if you're watching a mystery, you're kind of like, well, no, it can't be them because it's too obvious. I wonder who that could be.
All of the family said that Ransom had an argument with Harlan the night before. This film is very good at like making us forget information.
Yeah.
as it's presented to us because of the revelation that apparently Marta killed Harlan. The facts that we're keeping in our mind gets thrown away to the back of our mind as we're thrust into this realization. It's like, oh, we're being shown how all this happened right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then come right back around as at the end of the movie, as everything is being laid bare, and you're all of a sudden recalling the facts in your mind of what certain people said. You're like, oh my god, what? I love that feeling in a film when you come to that realization when it's just like, oh my god, and you're just shaking in your seat in anticipation. You're like, oh my god, oh my god. It was built up so well.
Yeah, it really was.
So it ended up to be Ransom. We're not going to go into all of the details. Like, if you've seen the movie, you know exactly how like over the top and expertly delivered that reveal scene was.
Whole thing was like half an hour.
The entire like final thing in the movie literally felt like half an hour. It was insane.
Yeah.
And Ransom would not admit it.
Mm-hmm.
But because all right, so Fran, who was the housekeeper that got drugged, she found out that Ransom was the one that was behind all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Ransom had to set it up so that Fran would OD and die, and that Marta would be incriminated for that murder. So he set up that entire blackmail note that led Marta to find Fran's body. But Marta did not leave Fran, and she tried to save her.
Mm-hmm.
And during the confession, we get a call from the hospitals, stating Fran's status. Marta says that she's alive, and then Ransom, in a fit of rage, admitted his guilt.
Well, that he like tried to kill her, but
he's like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? He taunts. But then Marta throws up the beans and pork she had from the day prior into his face, indicating that she lied that Fran survived.
Mm-hmm.
Fran died. The policemen were recording the entire conversation, and Ransom basically admitted his guilt to her murder.
Yup. Didn't see that coming, definitely.
And then he tries to kill Marta with a knife from a chair that, okay, apparently Harlan has like a chair or a throne or something like that in his house that is made up of like a bunch of different knives.
Yeah, it's like the Iron Throne.
That entire thing is so cool, and I'm like, I want a chair like that.
Yeah, I was wishing that someone would spin that wheel like the whole time.
Oh, it's so good.
Spin the wheel of knives.
So he goes to stab her, in which I have to say that entire like slow motion scene was shot so over the top and well, like, oh my.
Yeah.
And then he stabs her, but it ends up being a prop knife.
Yeah.
Which was something that Harlan had mentioned in his conversation with Marta at the beginning of the film when Marta was thinking about it. That Ransom was someone who couldn't tell the difference between a prop knife and a real one.
Yeah. I like how that came back around.
And his realization that he'd been had, he is just like, shit.
Yep. I love it.
And then you find out that Blanc basically knew that Marta had a hand in doing something about this the entire time, but didn't know how, because Marta had a bit of Harlan's blood on her shoe that he had noticed when he first met her. Gosh,
so he knew that she was like there in the room when it happened. Oh gosh, that's ridiculous.
And basically, the film ends with the Thrombies apparently having been evicted from the estate. And Marta is basically looking down upon them, still recovering from the grief of everything that happened, drinking something out of a cup that says something along the lines of "my house," and then the film just ends.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit, what a ride. Like,
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
we're really dumbing it down for those of you guys. There is so much to this film, and it's like 2.5 hour run that it cannot really be explained in one sitting.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the whole thing, it's like a hole at the center of a donut. And everything seems to fit in that hole perfectly. A donut hole in a donut's hole.
But
So we must look a little closer. And when we do, we will see that the donut hole has a hole in its center. It's not a donut hole, but a smaller donut with its own hole. And our donut is not holed at all.
that is the best goddamn quote in that film. And the fact that Daniel Craig said that with as straight a face as he did, and no one on set cracked up laughing, is incredible.
It was probably like take 47 or something.
I want to know how many takes that took. I really want to know how many takes that took. So now that we've basically done the go through of like the entire plot, I want to talk about like some little things throughout this film that like really work, that really make it stand out. Because
are we going to talk about bookends?
About what?
Bookends. My favorite thing in stories, bookends.
Go right ahead. Why don't you take the reins on this one?
What? Oh,
for the bookends.
Well, you mentioned the one with the knife.
Mm-hmm.
Where he says the knife, you can't tell the difference between a real knife and a fake knife, and
yep,
that came back into play. Oh gosh.
Oh wait, there was something that Linda had mentioned about
how they can communicate. Yeah,
how they communicate, that her and Harlan were extremely close, and that they use like different games in order to communicate with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that came into play near the end of the film, especially in the terms of like the case of her husband having cheated on him. Harlan had apparently written down the note that he was going to give to her on a piece of paper.
Oh, yeah. He was like, I'm going to give this to her tomorrow unless you tell her first. Yeah. Which was like Richard's motive for murdering him, was so that she wouldn't find out. But
and then
that was, as somebody said, one of the detectives said, it was kind of a weak motive.
Yeah. But then when Richard goes to find the letter, he finds that it's blank. So he immediately like dismisses it like right then and there at the beginning. But then we come around to like the end of the film, and then Linda finds it, and she automatically knows what to do. She lights a cigarette, she takes the lighter and puts the lighter underneath the letter to heat it up, and it's that old invisible ink trick.
Yeah.
Their special way of communicating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, the whole thing about games as well was one. Like there's this sort of theme that goes through this movie about like what's real life and what's a game, what's a story, what's not,
Exactly, as if they were playing a game of what were they playing? Backgammon?
Go.
They were playing Go, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was there was that thing where Linda was talking about, it was in the same line that she was talking about, we have a way of communicating. That's what you have to do with my dad. You have to come up with a game to play with him and play it by his rules. Because when his entire career was made out of basically making up these stories, murder mysteries. He was a murder mystery writer. So yeah, and then there's that whole thing where he's he hears from his nurse that she thinks she's made a mistake and that she's just accidentally given him a fatal overdose. And he has that moment where he's like, oh, that would be a really great way to murder somebody, and
because he believes that she has the amoxicillin that would cancel it out.
That's right. Yeah.
But Ransom had already taken it by that point.
Yep, that's true. Yeah. But then he plans out, tells her what to do after he dies or before something, he tells her what to do to give herself an airtight alibi, and it's like he's telling a story, but it's real life. And just like, yeah, the like stories and like reality and real knives, fake knives. Is this a game to you? All this stuff. Yeah, that's just very interesting to me. It's a very very quirky movie, actually. Like just the way that it was set up and everything. Like some of it was, kind of over the top, dramatic, but it in a funny way.
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um. Oh, it's great. There's this line where like they're talking about um that everybody got together for this party,
Right.
and he asks, "Well, how was it?" And she says, "The party, pre my dad's death, yeah, it was great." I thought that was hilarious.
And I love the fact that like during each of their little flashbacks, like it was them that was standing next to Harlan, like praising him, like when he got his birthday cake. When in actuality, like they were never really as close to Harlan during like those final times, but they were more interested in him after he died because of the inheritance.
Right. Yeah, there's always that sort of.
Which is the reason like why he wrote everyone out of his inheritance in order to give it to Marta, because Marta truly cared for Harlan.
Yeah, she was a friend.
Exactly, and a good friend.
Yeah.
She was one of the only people to actually beat him at his own game. The other one, I believe, being Ransom.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, like yeah, she was.
Which is kind of like which when you go back through it, like it's almost kind of a parallel, because it's like, okay, Harlan's dead. Now it's down to the only two people that actually have beaten him at his own game, playing the game of the aftermath of his death. Marta and Ransom. Marta is trying to follow Harlan's rules, but plays by her own way and wins, which is how she always beat Harlan.
Mm-hmm.
Ransom is playing the game like as he was known to play the game with Harlan, which is why he ended up losing to Marta, because Marta always played her own game and managed to win.
Yeah.
Because she is a good person.
Yeah, because when she was playing the game with Harlan, he said, "How do you always beat me at this game?" And she said, "I'm not playing to beat you. I'm playing to make a beautiful pattern," or something like that. Yeah.
And that is such like a great like little thing. Like, you and me, we both love playing games.
Yeah.
Like whether any video or board, like we always have our own style of like how we play games for our to play. It's play. It's fun.
Yeah.
And
it's like, is it really a good game if you're just playing to win?
Not always.
I don't think so.
You play to have fun in the way that you have fun. To Harlan, it was like a little competition, like a fun competition, not a serious one. And for Marta, she was just having her own way of fun while playing the game. Ransom was going all in, like all or nothing.
Yeah.
Like he bet the house, and he lost.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different ways to like interpret this film, so many small details which service the plot to such an extent. Honestly, I think like one of the biggest things that was always often overlooked, but people always go back to like after they see it for the first time, was Harlan's mom, who was still alive.
Yeah, isn't that yeah? And they say, "How old is she?" Is it
Nana Thromby?
Nana Thromby. We don't know how old she is, actually.
Ransom? Is that you?
Yeah, I love that when there's something where people just say, "Oh no, that's just somebody who's senile being senile," but it's not. It's a clue. Listen to the old.
Ransom, are you back again?
Ransom.
And everybody ignored her. And
yeah, they did. Yeah.
Oh, so damn good. So damn good.
Yeah. So I think that the conclusion about this movie is that it sort of takes a lot of your basic murder mystery uh, tropes, themes, all that kind of stuff, and it kind of like plays with them and turns them on their head, um, and it kind of shows everything from a different perspective, like not from the perspective of the detectives trying to figure out. It's not a who done it, really. You don't think it is anyway. It's not from the perspective of the actual murderer. It's from the perspective of a person who thinks they're a murderer and cannot handle it. You know?
It goes from a whodunit to a whydunit in a very in a very different sort of way that we're used to in murder mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
honestly, it comes down to the script and the direction of Rian Johnson that pulled this off masterfully. Like, there were so many breadcrumbs that were on second viewing, and you see this, and it's like, oh, we can pick up. I picked up on that because I've seen it. I picked on that. I already seen it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have not seen it, and it's your first time watching it, I love first reactions for certain films. This is one. This is one of them. First reactions to any kind of like murder mystery story, I'm all in.
Have you seen the video of a kid? I think he's maybe 7 years old, watching The Empire Strikes Back for the first time.
Oh, I love
and it's
those
like
reactions.
It's like a side by side of him, and then the movie playing. And the whole thing was like, "I am your father," and he's like, "What?" And he's like, "No, no." And the kid just turns to his parent and says, "This would make a great meme."
God, I gotta love when kids react to stuff like that. It's so great.
Yeah. This would make a great meme.
But yeah, that's basically almost the kind of reaction, like, well, besides the making a great meme, because I don't know, can you make a meme? You probably could. Let's be honest. If it exists, the internet can make a meme out of it. Let's be honest.
Yep.
But yeah, my God, I highly recommend Knives Out for any film goer, not just like murder mystery lovers. There's a reason why it got such huge praise when it was initially released, and why a lot of people, like, who were discovering it for the first time, like when the pandemic started, were just raving about it.
Yeah.
I would honestly put it like maybe the best film of 2019. It maybe in that category. It's arguably up there for me. I would probably go so far as to call it one of the best films of the decade of the 2010s.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely. It wasn't a movie that, despite all of the big names in it, it wasn't a movie that basically just had a really like interesting trailer, and then you go to see the movie and it's just kind of like, meh, I saw it all in the trailer. Like, it wasn't one of those things where you go to see it and it's sort of like basically just made to make money.
It's not an Oscar grab.
No, yeah, I don't know. It's not what I call a switch and bait.
Yeah.
A bait and switch movie. Switch and bait.
Yeah. Okay, I get what you mean. Bait and switch
movie where you see the trailer and you're like, oh my gosh, he's in it, he's in that, she's in it. I gotta go see this. You go and see the movie and it sucks. But they got your butt in the seat and they got your money, and that's what they wanted.
Exactly. This is quality film. This is quality film. Like, it's an ensemble that plays up to a bigger whole, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I would definitely give this film a high recommendation to go watch it. For those of you that want to see it, you can probably purchase it on DVD, Blu-ray. I think it's on Amazon Prime still.
Yeah, that's where I watched it.
I'm almost certain, and I've heard a lot of rumors that they are planning to possibly do sequels to Knives Out, centering on centering on Benoit Blanc, more mystery kind of stuff involving that specific character.
Okay, yeah, that I would see,
because you can't obviously do a sequel to the Thrombey story and everything like that.
It's got to be somebody who that's their career.
It's already complete, but you can get a lot of mileage out of Benoit Blanc though.
Yeah, that's true.
Like going from mystery to mystery, absolutely. If Benoit Blanc is the character that Daniel Craig decides to do after retiring from James Bond, I am all for that. He seemed to relish and he looked like he was having the time of his life in that role.
Yeah, just a fun role. Yeah, definitely.
Which I was really happy for because I'm like, I know how exhausted he said he was when he was finishing up as James Bond. He's like, I'm just burnt out just constantly playing James Bond, and you see him having the time of his life in this.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, when you get into sort of a series where you're just playing the same character in movies over and over again until people just get sick of them. Yeah, you can burn one out.
Well, it's hard to get sick of James Bond because I mean they're not as frequent as comic book films nowadays, but
true.
At the same time, constantly going through all of the different action sequences and things like that, it's a thing you experience as an actor when you get typecast in a certain role. You want to play a different role in order to jump out of it.
Yep, I've been there.
It's a constant thing we all as actors go through. Me and
I have played many a young boy in Shakespeare,
and I have done many a comedy role, And
I didn't cast you in a comedy role.
No, not you specifically. Yours was honestly a giant break.
When I cast you as a real creep, actually, but
that was honestly a lot of fun for me to do that instead of just I'm just a comedy side character, things like that. No, this one I was no, I get to be a real creepy son of a bitch,
and that is so much fun as an actor.
Yeah, me
playing just really just characters who were really not like you at all.
It's so
tons of fun. It is. Because there's I don't know where this is from. I think it's probably something by Joseph Campbell, in The Power of Myth, or The Hero with a Thousand Faces or something, where he talks about, I think it's every god in the pantheon, there's a facet of you, of each one in you. So every actor has Hera, and Mars and Hermes and Aphrodite, and stuff. Everybody has a little bit, in different doses, I guess.
Yeah.
A different measure. But it's there. You just sometimes have to dig really deep for it.
Yeah.
Dig to the center of the center of the center of the donut hole.
Exactly.
In the center of the donut.
Exactly. Exactly. And I have to say, thanks to this film, I did not realize how fucking funny Daniel Craig could be. Truly. Just the seriousness of Marta trying to call the ambulance and trying to save Fran, and then we cut back to Blanc sitting in the car singing songs that he's listening to on his did he have an iPod on or something like that?
I don't know.
I'm Jesus Christ.
Just completely oblivious to the real world stuff going on. Yeah,
it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful.
You gotta be a little bit of a sociopath to work that closely with crime, honestly.
I mean, yeah, it
gotta be an oddball.
The levity helps. The levity really
that's
does help.
That's another trope of mysteries and just crime thrillers in general. Is usually your detective is kind of a misfit, somebody that most people just think is weird.
Thanks, Holmes.
Yeah.
Yep, that will pretty much do it.
Mm-hmm.
In closing, ladies and gentlemen, Knives Out is great. Definitely go watch it. You get a high recommendation from the both of us.
Yep, absolutely.
I think that'll wrap up this episode.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, once again for listening to us here on the General Geekery podcast. If you guys like what you listen to, make sure to follow us wherever podcasts can be found. We are on Spotify, we are on Spreaker, we are on Apple Podcasts, and if you guys don't have access to any of those services, you can check out all of our previous episodes from the beginning at youtube.com/AnimeRevProductions, which is my personal YouTube channel. That is that is youtube.com/AnimeRevProductions. Also, if you guys like what you've been listening to and you want to support the show, please consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/generalgeekery. The link for that will be in the description below. We offer a wide variety of different things to all of our different patrons. You can
perks, they are called.
Yeah, perks. Thank you. Sorry, I can't.
Maybe it's a perk.
I can't do words today. We offer
me neither, which is really unfortunate because this is basically all words.
Indeed. Anyway, we offer many different perks to all of our different patrons. You get early access to all of our episodes before they go live on all podcasting platforms. You get some special notes and drawing ideas from Hannah and me. I should be posting one up there soon based on Star Wars because we are recording this on May the 4th. So
yeah.
I do have to
That's true.
Yep, I do have to send you that pretty soon. But
yeah, I'm trying to work on some artwork. I'm thinking about maybe making like little, just kind of like postcard size things.
Nice. And also, when you guys support the show, we sometimes do give you guys some shout outs for our Patreons. Shout out to Andrew Kelly and Brittany Hout. Thank you guys so much again, and all that good stuff. Hannah, where can they check you out at?
Well, you can find me rolling dice with my party every Monday at 7:30 Central on twitch.tv/loadeddiceadventures. I play Petra, the Dragonborn Ranger Rogue. It's tons of fun. Just chasing after undead because they're my favorite thing to kill.
Yeah.
Many shenanigans having to do with that. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Pythian Legume.
And if you guys want to check me out, you can check me out on Twitter and Instagram at RyuzakiMK7. You can also check me out on twitch.tv/RyuzakiMK7 as well. I play a majority of different games on there. A lot of them are RPG based, but I always love having a lot of fun and interacting with my chat. And I love doing a lot of different voices and impressions on there, flexing my acting muscles, so to speak. Yep. It's always a lot of fun. I love having people on there. I'm currently working on a new stream schedule at the moment, and that is also the Twitch channel where I have Hannah on in order to do our Inepticon series. So definitely go check those out. Twitch.tv/RyuzakiMK7.
Yeah, we usually do one episode of Inepticon a month where I come completely cold to a video game which I've never played before, and I play it through to a certain point that Donald chooses, like some sort of like story arc or something. I play like the first 2 hours of it. So we've done Mario 64, right?
We've done Mario 64 already. We've done Marvel Spider-Man for PlayStation 4, and we've last month we done Persona 5 Royal. So
Persona 5 Royal. Yeah, I enjoyed that one. That was fun.
That one might have to be like a recurring one. Like we'll do we might just do 2 Inepticon a month, like one recurring and one like brand new.
One recurring. Yep, awesome.
We'll figure it out. We'll leave it to the audience. We'll leave it to the audience on that.
Yeah, sometime we should do a listener pick of what Inepticon we should do.
Absolutely. So yeah, there is that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I was like, I got caught in the headlights a moment. This has been episode 78 of the General Geekery podcast, all about Rian Johnson's Knives Out. For Hannah Kubiak, I am Donald Kozinski, and until next time, dear listeners, keep an eye on your donut to make sure that there is not a littler donut hole inside of the donut hole to make sure that your donut may be whole instead of not whole after all.
Absolutely.
And always remember to keep your geek on.
Always.
Clink, clink. Yay! Bye, guys.
It's particularly pathetic this time. It was a cup and a box of mints.
You know what? It worked. Bye, guys.
Yeah.